This video looks at how to convert our single dimensioned sort from being just single dimensioned to a multi-dimensional sort. So it enables us to sort a two-dimensional array. This is part of the lesson Searching and Sorting. First, we need to understand what a multi-dimensional array is. And for us, we're just looking at two dimensions. So here's an array called personal details. And if I go to a location personal details 2, 1, that's row, then column, then I'm going to 2, 1, and I end up with 72, which is the age of Jane. So a multi-dimensional array is an array, it's got 0, 1, 2, 3 elements in it, and each of those elements, element 0, has an array in it. So John 21 Rowville. So each element in this array has an array inside it. And the way we tell PHP where to go to is tell it the row first, which is the record, and then the column. And in this case, we found this one. All right, we've already created our exercise 5 sort, and that's straight from sector. And it's all in here. And we're going to save this. As exercise 5 underscore sort underscore multi. We now need to look at what parts of this sort need to be changed. Well, the thing that makes the decision is right in here where we have to work out whether we have a minimum value. And it's just this line here. This is very key to what is going on, because this says if what's in this location is less than the minimum value I've got at the moment, then I've got a new minimum. Therefore, I save the new location and I save the new value. Well, the difference here is that we're actually deciding which part of the array are we interested in. So, for example, we might be interested in the second part, which for this example would be the surname. Having done that here, we also need to make sure that every time we access this array, we always access that particular part. So up in this line here, we collect the minimum value. We now need to collect the minimum value from that part of the array. So again, we've now collected the minimum value from surname, and then down here, when we find a new minimum value, again we have to store it from surname, which is part 1 of the array, part 0 being first name. So all of that is now fixed. To make this a more, and if we ran that, we could prove that that was working for that. To make this more general, what we really want to do is not just have the ones, but we'll come back to that later. So what we need now is we don't need this array. What we need is an array that's got more than one dimension. So going back to sector, we've already got some pre-packaged data down here to make use of. We'll put that in now. Don't like the indenting, let's fix that. And we're going to sort our array. Implode is not going to work now because every element of our array is in fact an array. An implode will only glue together elements from an array if it's a single dimensioned array. So we're going to make use of our standard debug code for the moment. And again, that's straight from sector. Sorry, a little fast there maybe. That's also straight in sector there. And that code sends a pre-formatting information to the web browser, which says, okay, I will show all the spaces and carriage returns and line feeds and that sort of thing. I'm going to use my printer to print out what's in the array. And again, I'm going to end that. So let's run that and show what's happened. So you can see here that we now have the surname sort. James is before, so J is before, L is before, R for Roberts, which is before S for Smith. So that is now sorted it not according to the first name. We can see Zach is right here, so it's certainly not sorting by first name. It's sorted by the last name in this information here. Okay, but that's locked now. It only sorts by surname, so we need to fix that. The process to fix that is say, all right, this routine here needs to be told which number to use. Do I use a 0 or do I use a 1? So the simplest way to do that is just to pass it a variable. The variable we use is really up to you. I'm going to use a variable int column just to indicate this is an integer value for the column. That means every location of those ones I now replace with int column. And this line as well. So now it receives the value of int column, and that decides which column in our multi-dimensional array, our two-dimensional array, is going to be used to decide on the order of the result. Okay, now that means that this function, index of minimum, needs to be given a value. So we need to look at where is index of minimum being used. Index of minimum is being used right down here in our selection sort. So we need to go down here and make sure that index of minimum also receives a value. This variable does not have to be the same, but it makes sense that it is. Because realize this int column and this int column are quite different values. This int column is only understood inside this function. Nowhere else in the program does it understand that variable. So this int column is a new int column. And we have to say, well, where does that get its value from? Well, it has to get its value from when we run the selection sort. The selection sort function must tell it what that value is. So again, we're going to pass another parameter. So that means when we say selection sort, we also have to tell it what column we want to sort on. All right, so this int column is given when we use the selection sort command. Selection sort command sorts on the array. Remember, the ampersand means it actually sorts the actual array and changes that information. This value is then passed on to here, so that index of minimum now can go ahead and use that in all the right places. In terms of our selection sort down here, we now need to change our selection sort command, because our selection sort command now requires to know two things: what array, and the second thing it needs to know is what column to sort on. So if we go ahead and save that and run it, we should see the same result. But the nice thing is now, if I go back and run it with a 0, it'll sort back on the first name. So change this to 0, save it, run it. We see now we've got B, J, so JI before JO, and then Zach. So I can see now that that has been sorted according to first name. So now that sort's become very, very flexible for us.